Good morning, everyone. Hope you're keeping well. This morning I'm going to. There's lots of people I'd like to meet in heaven and ask questions to, but the first person came into my head was Archbishop Desmond Tutu, because I remember the first time I seen him on the news, and I thought, what a happy, jolly wee man. He's just what I thought a Christian should be like. And I know he died quite recently. I think it was just during lockdown in 21. And whenever I was reading about him, I think the world is a darker place maybe, with him not in it. And I wonder who's coming up, what sort of people are coming up, who's going to take his place. I'm just going to give you a wee bit of background first of all on him. He was very smart academically. His father was the principal of a school, and when Desmond was small, he excelled academically. So he decided to become a teacher, and he met his future wife through. She was also training to be a teacher, and she was a friend of his sister's, and they married, and he actually had 4 children together. He was a teacher for quite a number of years. As well as being a teacher, he was very into the church. The church he volunteered as a Sunday school teacher. He was an assistant choir master. He was also a church counsellor, a lay preacher and a subdeacon, as well as his full-time teaching job during the week. The reason apartheid had been introduced at this time, and the white minority government were trying to introduce rules that were going to affect education for blacks. So him and his wife were very distressed by these new laws that were being introduced, and actually both decided to leave teaching. So he was really just doing a lot of different odd jobs at that time. And really the turning point in his life, and what I would like to ask him, he obviously had a deep faith. He met a man called Trevor Huddleston. Now, Trevor Huddleston was a Yorkshire minister who done a lot of work in South Africa, and Tutu had actually first met him when he came to his school, and he gave a talk on apartheid. And Tutu was quite young at the time, and he also remembers, looking back at the time, Tutu didn't realise Trevor Huddleston one day, when his mother worked in a centre for children with disabilities, and he was in, maybe his mum was about to finish work or whatever, and Trevor Huddleston walked down the corridor and doffed his cap at Tutu's mother. And Tutu had never seen anything like this before, because a white man did not take his hat off to a black woman. Well, he had never came across it. So he had that connection with Trevor Huddleston, even though there was 20-year different age gap. And he remembered thinking, what sort of man is he? He visited Tutu in hospital. Tutu was ill with TB and spent a long time, nearly 2 years in hospital. And Trevor Huddleston visited him in hospital and became friends. And Tutu later said, I'll just quote you from this. I wondered what kind of man this was and what kind of church he represented. When I found out, I decided I wanted to be a priest like him. So he was his mentor. So what I would like to ask Desmond Tutu, what attracted you so much to Trevor Huddleston that he became your mentor? Was it is talk on apartheid? Was it perhaps because he doffed his cap at your mother? Was it the hospital visits when you became friendly and you realised the type of man he was? Anyway, we can guess. We really don't know the answer, but I would like to ask him why Trevor Huddleston was such a big influence on Desmond Tutu. Anyway, after leaving the teaching, doing his odd jobs, Desmond Tutu decided he wanted to be a minister. So Trevor Huddleston was an Anglican, so Desmond Tutu decided he was going to go and become an Anglican minister. Now, he had a lot of debts with leaving his teaching job, and him and his wife just doing odd jobs. He had ran up debts. So Huddleston actually paid off his debts and paid for him to go through school, and he was able to qualify as a teacher. He became he became Archbishop of Cape Town and also Johannesburg, and done a lot of work, all non-violent, working with politicians to change the laws that were being introduced with apartheid. I remember watching a programme during the 1980s. Channel 4 was like a new channel at the time, and they went to South Africa and they went to a township, and it was all filmed undercover, as Channel 4 used to do documentaries like that during the 80s. And I remember watching it thinking, oh my goodness, I'm even frightened watching that on TV. How must people who actually live in this situation every day feel? So Tutu, he didn't just sit back on his laurels and think, oh, I've moved through the ranks, I'm now Archbishop of Johannesburg, I'm now Archbishop of Cape Town, I'm going to do something good. He actually said that he believed every single person was made for compassion, caring and mercy, which sounds absolutely lovely and probably true as well. He spoke out against apartheid and what apartheid was doing. He also criticised a lot of white members of government parties for turning a blind eye to what was going on. He spoke out for LGBTQ. He was a great advocate for women becoming priests inside the church. He done so much. So I'd like to ask him, when he went to bed at night, sometimes with what was happening in his country, was his faith so strong that it kept him going, or did he have ever nights where he doubted things, or did he always pray and think, well, Jesus was persecuted, so people in my country are being persecuted, I have nearly an obligation to speak out against it. I can use my position as Archbishop to speak out about it. Did he feel like that, or did he maybe think, I can't sleep at night, this is wrong, I have to do it? And maybe, did his faith ever waver? Did it ever waver in the middle of the night after he had prayed and maybe had had a bad day? Or was it always back as strong as anything the next morning when he woke up and thought, this is another day, Jesus is with me, I can go on? That's the two main questions I'd like to ask. Anyway, there's lots more about Desmond Tutu if you're interested. I'm sure there's so much about him, it's unbelievable. But they're the two questions I'd like to ask him. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll hopefully maybe see or hear from some of yous about who you'd like to meet in heaven. Bye now.